What is up, GBA type people? I am Randy, and I'm bringing you guys a GBA coach interview. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel and following along to see your favorite coach be interviewed in the next couple of days. I, along with 2 other special guests, will be running these interviews, and be sure to not miss out on any of them. I am actually recording my first interview today, and I am joined by the head coach of the New York Empoleon, GoldoaDragon. Goldoa, how's it going, man? Long time no chat.
Yeah, I know, it's been forever. God, first GBA season, I think I got to play against you in week 3? I think that's when we first met, and I actually don't know if we've spoken since that match. So
yeah, you know, I can't even remember either. I think we were in D League, and then
yeah, it was a D League.
We both got promoted, so we got to play a couple times. It's been quite a bit. Haven't chatted since.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and jump right into it. First, go ahead and introduce yourself and your organization, and talk about the Empoleon and basically what's been going on your channel the past couple of months, and going back to Generation 8 specifically, because as we all know, GBA wasn't around during Generation 8, during the Gen 8 era, LAN era, whatever you want to call it. So go ahead and update everyone what's been going on with the New York Empoleon.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously I've been very active on the TBL, which is the league I run. It's a league focused on Twitch and streaming battles, has been very active through Generation 8. I think we had 4 seasons, and we actually did use a points system in that league to try to use 20-minute timer instead of LAN for a while, similar to how the GBA is doing it this season. More information is probably a different video for that. I don't think we're talking too much about it, but that was something that we innovated a long time ago. I really like the point system, so I'm actually really excited for it to be, more broadcast by the GBA. The New York Napoleon have been very active, and early in Generation 8, I had a lot of success. I think I won 4 or 5 championships back in Generation 8 at various leagues, and was, especially during COVID, very, very active, playing a ton of leagues. What else was I doing? I mean, I couldn't go anywhere, couldn't see anybody. Right. It was a way to get social interaction. So throughout COVID, I was super active. Recently, in Generation 9, I've had some success early on in the meta. I played a couple leagues that I made finals in right away. Then I got really busy. Life started to pick up again, going out, doing things. And so I haven't been as active since the home release or anything like that. So this will be my first post-home league, which is kind of intimidating with the cast that we've got going on here. But it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited to bring the New York Empoleon back to the GBA for the first time since, season 9. I don't remember when that was, like 2018. And it was an Ubers league. I had a terrible league. I remember I think I went like 2-8. It was miserable.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah, not a great Ubers player, self-declared. So glad to be back in just like a general regular style of OU-ish league. And with the new meta, with the new Mons here, I think it's going to be really fun. I think it's going to be a new take on Draft League, and I think that's actually something I'm really looking forward to for the GBA to like innovate in a way that they haven't in a long time, but they used to be a very big pioneer for doing.
Right, absolutely. You make a lot of great points there. Let's stay on topic with the GBA trying to innovate, right? The GBA is introducing this assistant coach system. I'm sure other leagues that have been like under the radar have tried something similar, but the GBA, as far as I know, is like one of the first mainstream YouTube leagues where we have a designated, almost second player, if you will, to run matches during particular weeks. So staying along on that topic, my question to you is, because we obviously, your assistant coach is Addison, who on paper, if we're talking just Gen 8 Wi-Fi, we're talking Gen 8 Wi-Fi alone, one can make the argument she's top 2, top 3, right? So my question to you is, what was the process like recruiting her? Did you always know it was going to be her? Was there potentially a case where she would be the head coach potentially and you would be the assistant? Was there any talks like that? And I'm just curious to know how you feel about the system overall, and what were those talks like with her?
Yeah, so there were other people that I was debating as an assistant coach, but Addison was always top of the list in terms of somebody that I knew. If she wasn't participating herself, I wanted her on my side, because she's a terrifying coach to face off against. I think she's one of the only coaches in the entirety of Generation 8 that I did not have a win against. I think I'm 0-4 against her in my career. So she came to mind immediately when they said, you're going to be able to have an assistant coach. In terms of whether the situation would have been reversed, her head coach, me assistant coach, that didn't come up as much. I was asked fairly early on in the process by Danza if I wanted to participate, and so I didn't really see the side of it where I would have been asked to be an assistant coach. But Addison was, I asked her, almost immediately, and she basically said if she's not participating in the league herself, she's happy to do it. And I was just glad that I got a chance to ask her early on in the process and get her on my side, because she has already been instrumental in helping me just feel more confident going into this league. We've talked a lot about various, Pokemon and possible strategies we want to use throughout the season, and drafting a team that we're both comfortable with. Maybe it's a spoiler, maybe not, but I have a feeling she's going to be playing a few battles this season, just because if you have Addison as a partner, why would you not have her do some of it? I don't think that's too much of a spoiler to expect that she's going to be, taking on the mantle sometimes in certain weeks and certain matchups if she feels like the mons that we have are, good for her, and good matchups for her to just pilot a team. I think that's going to be something that we capitalize on and utilize. And so I'm super excited to have her on board.
Right. No, it's cool to hear that insight, because, I'm still not sure about the rules and how many games the assistant coach is required to play, if they're going to have to play a couple or if they're limited to play a certain number. But I imagine sometime this season, there's going to be coaches that are, that get cold, or they start losing a bunch of games and they need to get that one dub to get things back on track to stay in the standings. And I feel like that's where perhaps a change in who's running the show that week could be beneficial. But yeah, that's cool. I'm really looking forward to seeing the assistant coach system play out and see how different teams manage it throughout the season. So
yeah, and one thing I'd like to add about the assistant coach, just more generally outside the GBA, the TBL did a similar style of thing, not exactly the same. We did a partner league where one person played on Wi-Fi and one person played on Showdown, and you had to face off against a separate set of partners. Okay. But the idea of having somebody that is unconditionally on your side, helping you prep, and has all your best interests in mind, not like a front office person who maybe is in the league somewhere else and is just helping you out when it's convenient, but sometimes maybe you winning is bad for them. This is somebody who is unconditionally there for you 100% of the time, and your success and their success are translated the same. I think that's something that the community should look into more. I think it's a hard thing to make happen outside of an assistant coach style of thing, or a partner league or something like that. But the idea of just having someone there who no matter what they're telling you is always there for you on your side, you're their first priority, is just so much better than just some random person you're asking for a mock that you don't know exactly who else they're helping or what they're doing, or their time is split between other things. I think that's just something that I really like that the GBA is doing it. I think it's something that could be explored more in the future by other leagues too.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, and I definitely relate to that when you're asking someone for a mock, because you could be asking someone for a mock, and then the following week you match up against the main player that they build for, and it's kind of they kind of got your insight, and they got in your head a little bit, they kind of got some of the secrets that they could use against you. So I definitely relate to that point. So yeah, let's go ahead and move on to the next section of this interview. And real quickly, I had to look at the coach rosters. I believe if we go back to just season 9, the last season that we had, I believe you're only one of 2 that are coming back, I believe.
That wouldn't surprise me. I haven't looked at it exactly. I don't know exactly who is in it versus now in terms of remembering who was in season, all of who was in season 9. I just know that I got bodied multiple times. I think it was you and Joel first 2 weeks was just a tough start, and then it just went downhill from there. But yeah, I think that you're right. I think that's true.
Yeah, I think it's you and Lars, I think, are the only 2 that are returning. Yeah. And the reason why I bring that up is because whenever you did get asked to come back, you earned your spot back then. You made it to D League, you had a great run, you made playoffs, and then you got invited to GBA main league. So knowing that you had your spot, let's say soft locked up, right? Did you feel any pressure? Did you feel any obligation to come back? Were you always 100% going to come back if they asked you? I'm curious to know about that process.
Yeah. So my story, it's a little bit different, I think, than perhaps it goes a little bit broader than the GBA itself. When I was first starting out in Draft League, I don't know if it's actually that well known. The GBA D League was only the 4th draft league I ever participated in, period. And only the 2nd that I didn't run. So I ran 2 seasons of my own league, did one external season, and then applied for the GBA D League.
Wow.
And at the same time that I applied for the GBA D League, Jolt and Styx at the time, who were running the TTM, and that was a very successful channel at the time, asked me to go on and be a live streamer for their YouTube channel. And so I spent about a year and a half live streaming for Jolt and Styx over on the TTM channel. And so when Danza approached me, I sort of thought about, the friendships that I'd built through TTM, and I knew Jolt was running this season with Danza, and I was like, these are people I trust to run a good season, make it fun, make it about the people. So there was no doubt in my mind that as long as I knew that they were running this season, as long as I knew that they had like everyone's best interest in mind, that I was going to be happy to return to the season. I would say when I thought the GBA was gone for good, I didn't really think about like what I would do in the event of a return. But as soon as I was offered the spot, I was like, yeah, happy to take it. Assuming that I have the time and don't have too much stuff going on in my life or too many leagues going on at the time, then I'm happy to join. And they told me early enough that I was able to plan around it, so GBA can be like a main focus of mine instead of like adding on to an additional league, which I think was really helpful for me as well.
Gotcha. No, yeah, it's definitely a commitment to join, because draft leagues are a commitment, and no matter what you're playing it on, Showdown, playing on Wi-Fi, non-upload or upload required leagues. But the GBA, this is a different level, right? And I feel like you definitely want to put on a good show for a lot of the fans, new and old. So I definitely feel that pressure, and I definitely understand wanting to have that time set aside and reassure yourself you have that time to make this commitment. So let's move on to the last question. It's pretty short. We got to keep these under 15 minutes. So let's go on to the final question. And this is sort of a full circle type of question to you. GBA 10th anniversary season, 10 years of draft league. So my question to you is simply, what is your favorite all-time draft league moment? It doesn't even have to be your own. It could be someone's battle you watched. It could be something you saw in a Discord server. It could be a Showdown replay. What is your all-time favorite draft league moment?
I think I'm going to answer those with two different things. Sure. The first one is the most surreal moment for me, and I think it's hard to deny that it was one of my favorite moments that ever happened, which was in that GBA D League season. It was the first time I'd ever really been noticed by a wider audience. Some of those videos are still my most watched videos on my YouTube channel to this day. And my game against Leo, which was right in the middle of the season, he was 6-0 at the time, and I was coming off like a 4-game winning streak. It ended up taking place at like 12:30 in the morning, and the very end of that battle, I mean, spoilers for anyone who hasn't watched it, it's like 5 years old, but I won it 2-0, and it was the first loss to Leo the whole season. Everyone knew Leo was going to get pulled up to the main season right after that. Was kind of shocked he was back in the D League to begin with, and getting a chance to play him, like he was obviously a very strong competitor at the time, and just getting the chance to play him and get a win was, I think, a turning point in my career in terms of draft league. It's really what sold me on like, all right, I belong here. I feel like I'm qualified to play in this level, and even to this day right now playing in GBA season 10, I think may or may not have happened. My own confidence in terms of like wanting to play and knowing that I had the capacity to play may not have happened had that game gone differently. My favorite moment in any draft league, this is actually going to be a little bit of a shout out to my roommate Amanda, and then also a huge community of people where we ran the server called Poke Equality. It still exists. We haven't run any events in a while, but it was a charity server designed around Draft League, where we had people join events and donate all the money and proceeds to charity. And the first ever event that we ran was this big Pride event a couple years back, and someone was using I don't even remember exactly how this happened, but they were using a Obstagoon, and they switched it in specifically to set up a define. I have to remember exactly this work. I was so hyped at the time, I can't even remember like the exact interaction that happened, but they set up this Defiant boost off of an attack that didn't make any, like, it was so crazy. It was like they party shot into a Magic Bounce Mon, bounced it back, knowing that Mon would switch out to force something else in so that they could get the switch. And then they also had a eject pack, so when they got the stat drop, they got to switch out anyway. It was the wildest, craziest interaction. Like, it was so big brain. My brain like broke. It was in the finals. It was just like the most absurd moment of, I can't even remember exactly what happened. I'll try to find the clip for you so you can play it, so people can actually see it, because it was one of the most absurd. And again, I'm not describing it well. I'm probably totally wrong. This was like 3 or 4 years ago, but it was the wildest, craziest interaction I've ever seen, and it was just something that I aspire to do in Draft League, is just like come up with plays like that and finding situations where like you can do something that like everyone else has no idea that interaction even works, or like that could not have possibly seen coming, and then like you get the perfect advantage out of it, and they ended up going on to win that game. And that was a huge like turning point momentum wise in the battle, and I was just like so hyped about it. And it was like there were probably about 100 people watching live. It was, you know, obviously a live charity stream. It was super cool. It was just like one of those surreal moments in Draft League. I think that to me is what Draft League's about, right? Like, I've always thought about it as community. I've always thought about it as everyone's hyped to be playing each other and be part of this community. And that's part of how I got back into the GBA. It's like, this is what I want. I want more people to see more Draft League. If I can provide that content, great. If other people can provide that content, great. But I think more people just like being involved, being excited, and having a good time, as opposed to trying to, you know, be cutthroat or do something like super competitive. Like, I think Draft League for me is more about playing a game with other people. And especially through COVID, it was a chance to continue having community, even when there was not a chance to be out in the world with people. You could still interact with people. And I think that was something that Draft League gave me at that time. And I want to, you know, try to promote that to other people moving forward too. And I think that that moment just like exemplified that to me. The idea of like, I'm going to bring this to finals, whatever, and just screw it. You know, it's just going to be just going to be what it is.
Right. You know, that's legit, man. And you're right. That is what Draft League's all about. Just having those moments that you can talk about for a long time. And, you know, here's to 10 more years of Draft League, right? There's more moments to be created, more memories to be created. And hopefully we'll have some big moments this season in the GBA. So, yeah, man, that is all the time we have for this interview today. I want to go ahead and quickly say that, you know, after having this talk, I want to personally say I will be rooting for the New York Napoleon this season. You're one of the vets. Addison's great. You guys are going to be doing really, really well. You guys are like top 5 in like fan support in the server right now. So anyone who's watching who's undecided and feel like you want to root for the New York Empoleon, go ahead and join the fan server in the description below, and you know, pick up your roles and be ready for opening week of GBA. So thank everyone for listening in. Again, stick around for other coach interviews. Your favorite coach interviews will be dropping over the next few days whenever this is uploaded. So we look forward to seeing you guys then, and we'll see you all for opening week. See you later.